Hot hitters, cold hitters, stocks up and stocks down. From first year players to guys who have been dialing back time. We'll give you a run around the league with meaningful injuries and transaction trends and must know information to help you dominate your league.
All that and more on Good Faith and Fastball. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 3 of Good Faith and Fastballs. We are your host. I am Sean from Imperial, aka SFI, along with my sidekick, Mike Z, aka Zums, aka Zummy, all of the above. And this week, we want to lead with a new segment that's going to be reoccurring. It'll be a weekly segment titled The Word on Wall Street. Right? Earlier in episode 1, I talked about big picture, how hitters and pitchers, they're all stocks in fantasy baseball. They're all stocks, so like stocks, they can go up and down. And to start the show, we want to preview the hitters that right now we think their stock is trending upwards. This week we thought it's best to leave the pitchers out of it since it's a small sample size, but with hitters, we feel like we've seen enough at bats where we can have an opinion. And some leading here as we take a look at the list of hitters who are on the rise. Here's a guy that you've talked about. Maybe we're a little skeptical because of injury past. Yordan Alvarez is 1440 OPS, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, 6 runs, and 6 walks in a bomb the other night. What do you think about Yordan Alvarez?
He's putting up crooked numbers every game. There's no doubt about it. I saw him, and I'm always going to call it Minute Maid Park, so we're just going to stick with that. We're going to get rid of the corporate sponsors, whatever it's named now. Hitting moon shots. I saw him hit the roof the other day. I guess Sean, did we land on the moon in 1969?
No.
Yeah, so I was wrong about Yordan Alvarez. I mean, I think we're still very early here, but 5 games in. Guy looks like the best hitter in baseball. When he's right, which isn't often, I'd say he's one of the top 5 best hitters under God's flat Earth firmament. So
yeah, so is Yordan Alvarez, is he the Cuban Missile, or is Aroldis Chapman the Cuban Missile? Who owns that title?
It's Aroldis Chapman, and neither of them are a Cuban Missile crisis at this point in their careers.
Well, that I saw that bomb the other night, and that was impressive. I've had him in the past. When he is on the field and healthy, he's as good as they come. Coming from the left side of the plate, big time power hitter. Another guy that Zum really has stuck his neck out for, and most recently he's looking smart for it. The catcher for the Atlanta Braves, Drake Baldwin. Zum, give us a few words on Drake.
Well, he's sandwiched right now in between Acuna and Olsen, neither of which are doing much of anything right now. He's the only shining thing that's going well in their lineup right now. So far, 1.1 OPS, 3 home runs, 3 RBIs, 5 runs, a handful of doubles, 3 walks, really good plate discipline. Again, I think I said it in an episode too. I think he's well on his way to becoming one of the best catchers in all of baseball, and I stand by that.
Yeah, and obviously it's early, but it's a potent Braves lineup, and it seems like he'll reap the benefits all year long. A second baseman that made it on our preview list at the beginning of the year, Jose Altuve. He's continuing to extend, father time. 1.292 OPS, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 7 runs, 8 walks, and 1 swipe. He's still doing it. Zums, are you buying this?
Yeah, I would say he's on the short list of hitters whose stocks are up right now. So I think he's batting third there. With Jordan getting on base a bunch, plenty of RBI opportunity. He only has three right now, but he's driving the ball to all fields, 1.292 OPS. I mean, I think the numbers speak for themselves there.
I think a good chance there's going to be a new catcher number one this year. Maybe half of that is because of a slow start, but maybe we'll have catcher number one coming from the no longer the Oakland Athletics, soon to be the Las Vegas Athletics, which I'm looking forward to. Shea Langoliers, 1.331 OPS, four dingers, seven ribeye, four runs, and a walk. Are you buying this quick start from Shea Langoliers?
Yeah, he'll be catcher number two come the end of the year here, but I absolutely am buying it. He's been a staple in the middle of that lineup. Four home runs, top of the home run leaderboard right now. Showed a ton of power last season as well. We're at the point now where this is no longer a fluke. He's right where he needs to be. He's in a great lineup. He's a lot of cold hitters around him right now, so he has to stay hot to kind of keep their heads above water. But I'm absolutely buying the start from Shea Langoliers.
Yeah. All right, page two, another Zummy guy, Sal Stewart. Zums, take us through Sal Stewart's hot start.
1.807 OPS, two home runs, three RBIs, four runs, six walks. He's walking more than he's striking out currently. Just got a glimpse of him in a three-game series playing against our Buccos at Great American Small Park. Was driving the ball. Seemingly, I'm getting alerts to my phone all the time that he's on base. I think, with first base, third base eligibility in ESPN leagues, you can plug him at a few different places. He's batting fourth consistently behind Ellie. He's in a great spot, great ballpark for hitting. He's just a professional hitter. So I'm a huge fan of Sal Stewart. He was actually my preseason NL Rookie of the Year pick. So it wasn't trendy at the time, but right now he is the odds-on favorite for the NL Rookie of the Year 5 games into the season. I guess 6 games into the season, but still early.
Yeah, fantastic start. Speaking of fantastic starts and some stock that I'm currently a holder of, and I'd encourage all of you other folks out there to buy some Mike Trout, the big fish. 1.117 OPS, two home runs, three RBI, five runs, nine walks, and two swipes, and he's playing a strong center field. Zone, the number that sticks out here for me is those nine walks. That means he's really seeing the ball. He distributed two into the Crawford boxes down in Houston, Minute Maid Park. It's always been health for Trout. And I did see this offseason he's invested into the red light therapy, which I have done in the past, and I can attest it works. And so maybe this is the year of the red light therapy, turning the green light out on the ball field. Mike Trout, what do you think about the big fish?
The red light district, Mike Trout. I mean, yeah, again, the issue with him has always been injuries more than anything. I think the league is in a much better place whenever he dials it back and he's able to turn into what he was back in the early 2010s. He's an incredible player. We just hope that he stays healthy. That being said, like you said, his walk numbers, he's seeing the ball well. Played his first few games in a small ballpark, taking advantage of left field. Listen, you got to hit it where it's pitched. The field's built that way. You got to hit it over those boxes there. I know you're a huge fan of Mike Trout. I constantly see the retweets, and you're constantly reminding me that Mike Trout's on the up and up. And listen, man, I hope for the sake of baseball he continues to do what he's doing.
Yeah, last year was Jacob deGrom. This year, Mike Trout.
That's right.
And then finishing out the stock up pitchers, two Buccos here. Brandon Lau, 1.343 OPS, three dingers, four RBI, three runs, four walks. Man, without him in that Mets series, it would have been real ugly. But you love to see this hot start from Brandon Lau. And I think, since last year he had 31, I think there's no reason not to think this is the truth. Are you buying Brandon Lau's on?
I think I emotionally have to, but first two at bats in a Pirates uniform, two home runs. We'll be going back to Pittsburgh on Friday here. He's got a short porch, high fence in right field, but I can see him driving the ball over that fence a bunch of times. I have to buy into Brandon Lau because I want the Pirates so desperately to be good. But But yeah, I think he adds something to that lineup that they've been missing. If anything, he's adding length. He's adding another power bat in there, something we haven't seen in a long time. So I am buying the stock of Brandon Lau right now.
Absolutely. And then this last one, I know you've been probably dreading this gentleman, O'Neal Cruz, who you've recently traded away, and he has now found his power stroke, 1.029 OPS, 3 home runs, all without Zum, 6 RBI, 7 runs, and 1 walk. Can we get a comment on O'Neal Cruz?
Yeah, if you're looking at his stock chart and price volatility, it's going to drive you nuts. Right now, if don't take my advice because I traded him for Luis Robert Jr. 2 days into the season. He hit a home run today off a lefty. I think that's really encouraging to see. Typically, if I'm a lefty though, I'm just pitching him far and away. I'm giving him curveballs outside, making him reach, making him look silly. Good to see that the stuff that's going on in the field with him, as of late at least, has not been carrying over to the plate. I mean, let's face it, they need him and Brian Reynolds to be the best versions of themselves in order to compete this year. So, listen, I'm praying for it. I don't want to hold on to him. I obviously didn't, but I hope that he continues to do well.
Awesome. Well, Zombie, it's probably a little sour for you on O'Neal Cruz. A little sour for me. Going over to the pitchers, one of my guys that I was telling audience out there to avoid, and not necessarily for poor performance. It was more of how many innings Kevin Gosman has thrown over the last 5 or 6 seasons. But man, out of the gate, he's been sparkling. He's probably after Sandy Alcantara's complete game today, it might be different. But Kevin Gosman with the Toronto Blue Jays has been spectacular. 2 starts, hasn't got a decision yet, but 12 innings and 21 strikeouts, 0.75 ERA, 0.25 WHIP. Looks like I'm going to have to eat my words on player to avoid Kevin Gosman because his stock is up. What do you think, Zone?
I think it's too early for you to be eating your words. I'd say be gentle on yourself at this point in time. You got to forgive yourself. It's 2 starts in. We've seen the story with Kevin Gosman. It's inconsistency all the time. Although, playing the Rockies today, he certainly deserved the win there. I was a keeper of him. I traded for him last year. Had some really low point per game performances, but then also put up over 40 for me in a playoff spot. So it's kind of a love-hate thing with me for Kevin Gossman right now. The people who have him love him. We'll continue to maybe monitor his progress as the season goes and let you know when to flip him. Because as we're talking stock, Sean, should you sell when they're high or when they're low?
You got to sell them at their highest, which is what you did not do with O'Neal Cruz. So learning experience for all of us out there, at the expense of Zami. But moving along, and I want to make sure we give this gentleman his proper credit, and I want to make sure we get all the numbers here. All right. It was a complete game shutout for Sandy Alcantara, the former Cy Young. 9 innings, only 3 hits allowed, no earned runs, no runs at all, 7 Ks, 93 pitches. It looks like Sandy Alcantara is back to being elite after this.
I mean, 39.9 points today in our league. We get the benefit of, so in our league, it's strikeouts, wins, complete games, quality starts, shutouts. I mean, so you got a lot of supplemental points there in the back end with Sandy. But he's always been a workhorse. He's always been a guy who's thrown a ton of innings. I remember junior varsity Bury having him a few years ago. I think it was back in 2021 or 2022. Seemingly every game that he pitched, he was going to the 8th inning at a minimum. They just throw this guy and they continue to run him out there, and he hasn't really missed a beat all that much. I think the 1-2 punch of him and Yuri Perez makes the Marlins intriguing from that standpoint, but that's unfortunately the only thing going on in South Beach.
Yeah. Here, another guy, another young right-hander, tall drink of water, Jacob Mizorowski, off to a hot start, as maybe some could have predicted, but just after these 2 starts, you got to think his stock is up. 1-0 record, 11 innings pitched, 8 strikeouts, 2.45 ERA, and a 1.0 WHIP. He showed us a lot last year, and now he's backing it up. I believe he's 6'7", and he's skinny. He's just a really intimidating force standing on the mound when you're 6'7". Now you're almost 7 foot. Are you buying this all year from Jacob Mizorowski?
Well, he was drafted 73rd in our league, so 13th pick of the fourth round, which I thought was a little bit too rich at the time, and I still think it's a little bit too rich right now. I haven't seen enough. I mean, he's trying to fill the shoes of, Freddie Peralta, who departed for the New York Mets. Different kind of pitcher, long extension, throws gas. We're going to see if that body can hold up over the course of an entire season. I'm reluctant to believe that the Miz is going to keep the pace that he's keeping right now. They need him to. I mean, what other arms do they have in Milwaukee right now? So I don't know if they're going to throw him until the wheels fall off or until his arm falls off. Either way, impressive start through the first two. Like I said, we'll see where this goes. I'm not entirely sold on the Miz.
Yeah, keep your eye on him throughout the season. And then the last pitcher whose stock is up, someone that's maybe familiar with being on these types of lists, Max Fried. Seems like ever since he's made his way to New York, it's been a great experience for him with the Yankees. He's always looked strong. He's been healthy, a big left-hander. 2 starts, 2-0 record, 13.1 innings pitched, and 10 strikeouts. He hasn't allowed a run, and his WHIP is .53. Do you expect to see this all year long for Max Fried on a really good Yankees team?
Yeah, it is Max Friedbird is what we'll start calling him because he just brings the electricity every start. I just talked about the 1-2 down in South Beach. I mean, talk about the 1-2 of Max Fried and Cam Schittler. I'm surprised that he didn't make the stock up on the pitchers, but I think his game had just ended right before we had gone on air. So maybe we'll give him his flowers a little bit later. We'll find a spot for him so you can kind of go on a quick
Well,
little
now
dive.
he's got it. Cam Schlittler, you're the man. Shout out Cam Schlittler,
Yeah,
maybe my favorite
what a stud.
pitcher on my staff.
Yeah, Max Fried, huge fan of Max Fried. Yeah, I think his mechanics are there. I don't think he overthrows the ball. Um, the Yankees haven't woke up at the plate yet, but the fact that he's 2-0 when they haven't been scoring a lot of runs, he's going to be there. I bet you he's a top 5 AL Cy Young voter at this point in time. I have a hard time not seeing a path forward for him to be on that list at the end of the year. So yeah,
I think that's safe.
definitely buying on Max Fried.
Yeah, safe for a top 5, and he could win it. So
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah,
steady,
oh,
Eddie.
yeah, yeah. All right, moving on to notable first-year player performances. So I've compiled a list of guys that we're going to talk through real quick that have been making some noise, some for the positive, some for the negative. With this group, we're going to see some inconsistency, obviously, in first-year players, but we're going to highlight some of these guys that have been taking the league by storm, starting with Chase DeLauter. How do we not start with Chase DeLauter, what he's done so far, Sean? Now, last night would have been Tuesday night. Fouled a ball off his foot from a pitch from Shohei Ohtani. X-rays back negative on him, which is good news for the Guardians. They were taking precautions, holding him out for a game. He will be back. He is batting .273. He is striking out at a 30% rate, and he's only walking at a 4% rate. So if you remember when we had highlighted him in episode 2, his AAA numbers and his numbers last year were more so split between K rate and walk rate. So, small sample, but he's striking out 1 every 3 at bats. We don't like to see that. He's batting second in that lineup right in front of Jose Ramirez. The one stat that stuck out to me, Sean, he has a 182 BABIP. So 182 batting average for balls in play. He has 4 home runs and 23 plate appearances. I cannot imagine that rate is going to last. With a 1.123 OPS. Sean, what do we think about Chase DeLauter? Is it too soon to get excited about this guy?
Well, I think and when it comes to fantasy baseball, like any other fantasy sport, injuries plays a big role, and it sucks when they get going and they're they find the power stroke. He comes out of the gate hitting home runs, and now he'll probably miss a little bit of time with the foot contusion. However, whenever you're looking at these young hitters, young pitchers, I always like to go back to the MLB top 100 prospects. I really trust the work and the research in that list. I really trust the numbers that they come up with, and he's the 44th ranked prospect in baseball. Just for contrast, Seth Hernandez, Bucco, 2027 prospect. Max Clark, very polarizing lad down in AAA for the Tigers. He's the 8th prospect. Bubba Chandler, 9th. So a lot of names you're familiar with. But he is on this list. He's one of the marquee names as far as young hitters. So you saw this coming. He wasn't really on my radar. So I was excited for you that he came out hitting dingers and made you look smart. But it stinks that fouled one off the foot. Sounds like it's not going to be serious. But I would, especially hitting behind Jose Ramirez, he's going to reap the benefits there. He'd be a guy that I'd like to have on my team for years to come.
Well, you had mentioned somebody else too, so we'll segue into it. He's not on my list, but Bubba Chandler. I think we talked about him being Pirates guys in episode 2. His first game started last night. 6 strikeouts, the good, right? 6 walks, the bad, which I think was always going to be the story with Bubba Chandler about harnessing, the strikes. Wasn't around the zone a whole heck of a lot. Wasn't getting a lot of swing and miss stuff. Wasn't in the zone. Sean, one start. We can't get too worried right now, can we?
Well, I will defend him here somewhat, and I think, and I'd be interested for him to comment on this. Who knows? Maybe one day he'll be on the pod. You mentioned the 6 walks, which obviously that's startling and jumps out. But correct me if I'm wrong here, but he didn't give up a hit, is what I'm seeing here. He went 4 1/3, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, and he had those 6 walks and 6 strikeouts. So if I had to guess, he's viewing those walks as singles, right? I think a lot of pitchers, in their head, they're so confident in their stuff, they don't really care if someone gets to first. They start caring when guys get to second. And I didn't watch every pitch last night. I don't know how frequently someone was on second with Bubba. I still expect big things for him all season long. He's a blue chipper. Really excited about Bubba Chandler.
Yeah, I'll say one thing about him. I think when you're talking high strikeout totals, high walk totals, you obviously got to bring up naturally the pitch count, what that's going to look like. If you're viewing walks as singles, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't viewing it that way. I'd rather give up a single on 2 pitches than a walk on 5 or 6 pitches. Hard to say, but we're going to move on from him. We hope that Bubba Chandler is the guy that he's touted to be. Sal Stewart, we've already kind of aforementioned him. 563 batting average. He's walking twice as much as he's striking out. He's walking 27% of the time.
I am seeing the 636 BABIP in your notes here, which I appreciate. That is a massive number.
Have you seen where he's hitting the ball? That should be closer to 800. He's not hitting it at people. He's hitting it into the gaps and hitting it over the fence. Nobody's catching those balls.
Well, absolutely. However, that number is going to come down, and I'm not saying this is fake at all. However, that number is going to come down.
I look at the rest of my list, and I look at the BABIPs of these guys on the list here. He's far and away leading that category. That's obviously the stat that stuck out to me as well. 2 home runs, 3 doubles, hitting to all fields. JJ Weatherholt, this is your guy, the Mountaineer, Yinzer, as you call him, right?
Yinzer Mountaineer.
Attaboy. 300 batting average, striking out 13% of the time. You'll take that. Walking 9% of the time. He's leading off up there for the Cardinals. BABIP's 294. He does have a home run, 23 plate appearances, but no extra base hits. The OPS is sitting just south of 800 at 798. I'll let you have the floor here with JJ Weatherholt for a second.
I think the Yinzer Mountaineers is what he'll be called all year long, which is going to spur him to the National League Rookie of the Year. I have a ticket placed on him for the NL Rookie of the Year. He just kind of looks the part, left-handed hitter. I was following him while he was at WVU, as recently as 2 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember the coach mentioned, during he hit a home run, I think, in the first game his sophomore year. He was there through his junior year. So the first game, sophomore year, he hits a home run, and he just never stopped hitting home runs since. And I feel like that has carried over into the minors and now into the big leagues. He kind of just, like I said, he looks the part, and he's showing up. So that's a team that the Cardinals are definitely punting for next year. But we said this on episode 2. He's going to be penciled in there every day, and expect a lot of production from J.J. Weatherholt.
Yeah, I think the path to 500, 600 at bats is very easy to see there. We're going to run through these next 4 very quickly. I'm just going to highlight them. Kevin McGonigal batting 333 right now, 873 OPS. Murakami batting 278, 31.8% strikeout rate. He has 3 home runs, though, for the White Sox with a 1.187 OPS. My guy, Jensen, .091 batting average. He's striking out 39% of the time. That is not good for my AL Rookie of the Year pick there. He's not walking very often. His BABIP, which is strange, Sean. I don't know if you've seen this before. His BABIP is .000. Is that because he only has 1 hit and it was a home run? Does it not?
Yeah, because the ball wasn't in play.
I would agree with that. Then Carson Bench, shout out to Bo. Very excited about Carson Bench with the New York Mets. Broke camp with the big league club. He's batting an anemic 176, striking out 32% of the time, and has a 616 OPS. So we're hoping for big things for Bo and Carson Bench at this point in time.
He did go deep off the Buccos, and he had a nice stroke on that ball.
Who did he go deep off of? That was his first game. So it would have been Skeens, and Skeens was taken over by who? Immediately after, in the first inning, after 2 outs. I don't even remember at this point in time. It was such a blur having Skeens go out there and do what he did. Yeah, it's okay. No, it's all right. So either way, Sean, do you have anybody on those 4 that I just listed, or anybody that I'm missing that you want to bring up, notable first-year player performances?
I'm just excited about McGonigal. All the time, they're going to throw names at us as far as, get excited about this guy, Connor Griffin, McGonigal. They always are peppering you with names this time of year, and it's kind of up to us to sift through and see which ones are going to be real assets. And I'm thinking back to Chris Bryant years ago with the Cubs, highly touted prospect, getting the call up to the Cubbies, and he was incredible his rookie year. And ever since then, I've taken the rookie serious. Weatherholt was my pick in the NL, and McGonigal is my pick in the AL, and he's been really solid right out of the gate. He's hitting second on a really good Detroit Tigers team, 873 OPS. Bye on Kevin McGonigal. All right, Zum, few games into the 2026 fantasy baseball season. Obviously, really early into this journey, but it's this time of year where it's fun to compile a list of guys that are doing well, maybe guys that aren't. And this list that we came up with are the old folks, some of the old timers, as we might say, that are performing. And we mentioned Mike Trout, so we won't spend a lot of time with him. I'm thrilled for Mike Trout. But the next guy we wanted to spotlight on this little long in the teeth list, as you could say, Christian Yelich. 353 batting average, 26.3 K rate. He's walking, 1 dinger and an OPS of 950. Are you excited about Christian Yelich?
Bust out the Bengay and hop in your DeLorean, Sean. Yeah, I mean, Christian Yelich, he's just dealt with a myriad of injuries over these last few years. So he's missed games for back issues on 6 separate occasions. So he had his 2024 season cut short. 2025, he underwent back surgery. 2026, so far, so good. Batting third, anchoring that lineup. He's sitting there with, Wilson Contreras in there, following Bryce Terang as well. They have a pretty formidable top 3, I would say, up there in Milwaukee. I think he's DH eligible only in ESPN leagues, I believe. I'm not sure the last time he played outfield. I would probably have to look in that. Maybe you can pull that while I'm still talking here. But yeah, I mean, he's a boost to the lineup. There's no doubt. If he can get right and he can produce even I'd say a middle of the road type season, you're probably looking at 25-ish home runs and a 90-90 runs RBIs, staying around maybe 270 or 280. I don't think he's going to be swiping many bags at this point in time. I don't think they need him to. Bryce Durang's doing a lot of that up at the top of the lineup there. Even Wilson Contreras will steal you a few bags here and there. But yeah, Sean, I think it's the back issue. I'm waiting for the back to flare up. I have back issues of my own from playing just collegiate sports, and they can knock you down for a little bit, man. So obviously he's doing stuff at a much higher rate and a higher level than what I was ever doing. But yeah, I'm excited for Christian Yelich. Good for him. Good to get him back on the field.
In 2025, Christian Yelich appeared in the outfield in 19 games. He's definitely a DH, at this point in his career. But I've always felt he's had one of the sweetest swings there is from the left side of the plate. He was awesome with the Marlins, and then obviously kept it going with the Brewers. Love to see Yelich off to a good start. This next guy, we got to give this one to you. Luis Robert, you essentially dealt him straight up for O'Neal Cruz. The other player, you packaged Jamison Tyon, and who was the pitcher you got back?
Logan Henderson, highly
Okay.
talented pitching prospect for the Brewers, who will be up at some point this year. So I will stash him. I have time on my side. I have a pretty nice pitching staff over here for the horse doctor. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I obviously we saw him in the opening series, pretty up close. His story has always been injuries as well, but also you can't write his story without mentioning the ineptitude of the teams that he was on. Probably pretty difficult to be motivated going to work every single day when you're on a team that doesn't really care about winning. It's very very early. He's really focused this offseason on cutting down his strikeout rate. He's down at 10.5% right now, and he's walking 21% of the time. So for you non-math majors at home, he is walking twice as much as he's striking out. Sean, I know that's one of your favorite statistics. Again, early on, small sample size, but he's finally in a good lineup. He's got Lindor, Soto, Bichette, and Polanco in front of him. I think they're slotting him in fifth, even though he batted cleanup yesterday with Polanco out of the lineup. I obviously traded for him for a reason. A, I don't trust O'Neal Cruz. B, I think Luis Roberts' talent is real, and I think he's finally in a spot where he can thrive. Um, and he has good insulation. So I think it's something to be excited about. I better get excited about it. I will. I'll go nuts if he ends up getting hurt. Let me just put it that way.
Well,
I'll go nuts.
so that's obviously the theme with him over his career. Just one season, he's made it north of 400 at bats. He actually made it to 546 in 2023. His other 5 seasons, he did not break the 400 AB barrier. So, hey, I'm rooting for you. I know all season long we're going to be comparing him with O'Neal Cruz, so that'll be fun to track.
Good
The
theater.
next, yeah, absolutely. The next player we spoke about earlier, Yordan Alvarez. Don't have to spend much time there, but again, when he's healthy from the left side of the plate on a good Astros team, a very hitter-friendly ballpark, the ball just jumps off his bat. Off to a great start. You want to add anything more for Yordan Alvarez?
No, I'll give a shout out to Ryan Page of the Fantasy Baseball. He took him 31st overall. The injuries did not scare him. I had a pick 3 picks later and went with Matt Olson, but I can be honest with you and say that if he fell to me in 34, I would not have taken him. I, God, for him and for the Astros' sake, and I know you and I aren't very high in the Astros with our preseason picks. Hunter Brown looks really, really good over there. Outside of him, though, I'm not really convinced that their pitching staff is much to write home about. Um, yeah, not much else to add. It's always been about injuries with him. He's got a big frame. He's a big boy, but his swing is sweet. If my son was a lefty, I would teach him to. I'd have him watch videos of how Jordan Alvarez swings. It's violent.
And while we're
It's a
here,
violent swing.
yeah, let's just take a peek at the Astros lineup to get familiar with it. Obviously, each year there's some turnover. Leading off with Jeremy Pena, second, they got Alvarez hitting second, followed by Altuve, Correa, Christian Walker's the first baseman there. Here's a name, Zums, that we've had. Joey Loperfido batting sixth, playing left field. Cam Smith in right field. Yonder Diaz catcher. Jake Myers in center. So, he's not the only old one there. You're going Alvarez, Altuve, Correa, and Walker. I believe all those guys are well over 30 years old. So we'll see what the Astros do this year, but excited for the hot start from Yordan Alvarez. Then Zum last year is a pitcher. I think you really relate to Max Scherzer. One start, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, only one earned, .83 WHIP. Is Scherzer gonna be effective all season long?
No, I don't think so. Um, it's one start. I mean, uh, I cheer for the guy. I mean, he's staying. He's doing something that he loves. Um, he was hitting 94 yesterday in his first start, 6 innings pitched. Only 4 hits given up. His ERA is 1. WHIP is .83. Using his four seamer, slider majority of the time. I think he's a pivotal fourth starter with Cody Ponce. Just going on the IL the other day for a freak. I think they called it a knee hypertension with an ACL sprain. So I think they're going to need Max Scherzer to be good. But I think Max Scherzer being good is more so Max Scherzer being in the low fours of ERA more than anything. So that's all, I mean, that's all I'd really have to say about Max Scherzer at this point.
So those were some guys that are pleased with their starts. Now let's take a look at some hitters that are what you'd say maybe cold or off to a bad start. We got a list of hitters here for you, starting with the big dumper, the catcher out in Seattle, Cal Raleigh. 14 strikeouts and 23 at-bats, a .440 OPS. Some could say they might have seen this coming as far as a little regression from his All-Star campaign last year. What do you think about Cal Raleigh's slow start?
Oh, I mean, it's not even the fact that he's striking out as often as he is. It's the swings. It's how bad they actually look. I mean, the combination of him and Julio Rodriguez, who we'll get to in a little bit, they're killing that lineup out there in Seattle. I think Cal Raleigh's a jackass. I was low on him coming in, and you know what? I think you could make the argument that there might have been some juicing going on last year. I don't know. Hate to be accusatory, but hey, we're gonna have to wait and see with him.
I think that's I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense.
He was being overdrafted. I think I think it was even episode 1 where we were kind of trying to figure out show topics. We said, what should we, what kind of segment should we do? Players to avoid, and he was my one player to avoid. I don't think you take a catcher in the first round. B, I don't think you pay last year's price for this year's performance. There was no way that he was going to come anywhere close to what he did last year based upon historical performance. And, again, we have to keep saying small sample, small sample, small sample. But the swing shot, they look really, really bad.
And you know what? If I made it to the big leagues and was, a really good hitter, player, I'm sure Cal Raleigh will get it going eventually. But if my nickname was the Big Dumper, I would be pissed. I would be disappointed. That, it might be a fitting nickname, but I think that nickname sucks.
I mean, he's taking huge dumps right now, Sean. I mean, he's doing exactly what his namesake says.
Yeah. All right. The next guy, Brent Rooker. I've never really been a fan of his. I remember a few years ago, Shea was like busting down the door to try and trade for him, a guy that can't play a good outfield. Look, we got plenty of those folks around. And look, here he is, striking out at a high clip, 12 Ks and 24 at bats, a .381 OPS. Is Brent Rooker maybe starting to show a little age?
I had him last year. He was just fine for me. I don't get excited about that pick. Again, Shea Langoliers is really the only guy right now in that lineup that's doing much of anything. I know we're going to get to Nick Kurtz here in a second, not to kind of, lead the viewers on here, but he, I think drafted way too high. Kind of a one-trick pony, hits a lot of home runs, but I don't know. Time will tell, Sean.
This next gentleman, the namesake of my team last year, the Redwood Forest, James Wood. I was upset. It was a few days ago. The wind was blowing out at Wrigley. I follow the Twitter account, the X account that shows all the weather at all the ballparks, and it was saying, the wind's blowing out at Wrigley. I for whatever reason, I picked Michael Busch, and what do you know? James Wood hits a dinger, and I should have had money on him, but he's kind of picking up where he left off last year, not in a good way. 12 strikeouts and only 27 at bats, 604 OPS. Is James Wood ever going to be kind of that consistent hitter that folks want him to be?
No.
Simple answer. Moving
Yep.
along, Aaron Judge. The All rise for Aaron Judge. Obviously, it's early, and obviously he's incredible. But as mentioned to me earlier, he is striking out at a 50% clip, 11 Ks and 22 at bats, 640 OPS. I'm a big fan of Judge. As long as he's healthy, he's top three no matter what. But just a slow start. Zomzy, are you panicking at all about Aaron Judge?
Absolutely not. I don't think you can panic this early about Aaron Judge. Track record's there. I think he's a top three hitter in baseball. I'm not worried about him.
The next name here, and this will be interesting to track. Roman Anthony, started the season with the big league club, so his first full season. Uh, Also 11 strikeouts and 22 at bats, just like Aaron Judge, but a little less on the OPS, 482. I said it on the previous episode. Whenever all the scouts talked about Roman Anthony, they just all mentioned the sound of the ball coming off his bat is different, and I believe that. I am a believer in Roman Anthony. However, off to a cold start. Do you have much of an opinion there?
Yeah, I mean, I have an opinion on Roman Anthony. He wasn't in the starting lineup today. He pinch hit his first home run of the year. Maybe that gets him jump started. Maybe it doesn't. But one home run, two RBIs, and one run through the first 6 games. Slow start, but like you said, I think you trust blue chip prospects, the pedigree. He got a nice contract. Obviously, the Red Sox have faith on him. They're not going to send him down. They're not going to keep him out of the lineup for long. You got to let him figure it out. Um, I know you know a little bit more about Roman Anthony than me. You're a little bit higher on him than I am, but no. Again, I don't really panic with guys that just have the fundamentals in place, and I think he's one of those guys with the swing. He might be being exploited a little bit early. He might be finding holes in the swing right now, but I count on him on bouncing back.
Yeah, I recently purchased MLB The Show 26, and I'm a Diamond Dynasty player, and Roman Anthony is my two hitter, and he's leading me in average, and he hits for a ton of pop. So I think we'll start to see that in real life here shortly.
Yeah, it probably
Um,
translates.
Absolutely. Zom, I will admit, I think I'm happy I didn't take Kurtz with the first round pick. I was 18 overall. Gunner obviously hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but still a ton of faith there. But the reason why I had a little bit of skepticism with Kurtz is I do think, especially in Major League Baseball, the sophomore slump is a thing. So he was
Jackson
phenomenal
Merritt.
last. Yeah, this could be another one, but obviously early. But 11 Ks and 17 at bats, 297 OPS. It sounds like the whole athletics lineup needs to get it together. I expect really no different from Nick Kurtz. You can bet your bottom dollar I'll be knocking on Sirio's door for the next probably month or so, trying to buy low on Nick Kurtz.
Yeah, I think with him, it's we don't need to beat this point anymore. He's a swing and miss guy. He whiffs a lot. He strikes out a lot. If you allude to the Baseball Savant page from 2025, a lot of blue in terms of the contact. Yes, his counting stats were fantastic. I just don't trust guys who strike out as often as Nick Kurtz struck out last year. I think, a whole offseason, coming in with tape on this guy now, I think, they're probably trying to exploit. They probably see something. There's guys in front offices who do data analytics that are a lot smarter than you and I. They're just exploiting him right now. But again, it's very, very early. I don't think he was ever going to comp his numbers from last year. I mean, you can't be striking out 11 times in 17 at bats. You just can't be doing it and expect to stay in that lineup. I mean, the path to 500, 600 at bats is 100% still there. Um, but again, I would not have paid his performance from last year and this year's prices. So, Sean, I know you like him. Like I said, I expect to be getting dinged on my ESPN app saying a trade has just been processed and seeing Nick Kurtz going over to the Freemason Freddies.
I think it's probably a safe bet. All right, Zom. The next guy on our cold start list, Josh Naylor. I've never owned him. So, I'm just going off of, the numbers in the back of the baseball card, but he's off to a cold start. If I believe you've had him on your teams in the past. What do you think about this cold start for Josh Naylor?
I mean, one for 23. His first hit was yesterday, so I think he started 0 for 19. And wow, I mean the combination right now of Cal Raleigh, Josh Naylor, and Julio Rodriguez. My goodness. I haven't really checked in on the stats all that much up there in Seattle. They're 3-4. How they've won 3 games is probably solely based on pitching. Although I've seen Logan Gilbert not looking too hot up there either. Yes, I owned him. He was an anomaly last year. I think when you look at his size, he's a big boy. He had 30 stolen bases last year,
That's incredible.
which is pretty incredible when you look at him. I think he was caught stealing, and I'm just gonna make sure that I actually pull the correct number here so that I don't butcher it. But he okay, he was caught stealing twice. 30 steals, caught stealing twice. I don't know. 197 OPS. He's out of my obviously of my top tier of first basemen. He probably falls for me probably somewhere in the I don't know 10 to 14 range of first basemen. So somebody's got to figure it out up there in Seattle. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know if Naylor gets started first or Cal Raleigh or Julio Rodriguez. We know Julio Rodriguez is the next guy that we're going to kind of parlay this into. He's 2 for 22 right now. He's batting 091, but we know that he heats up when the weather heats up, Sean. So
Yeah,
shout out
that's
to
a
Bolsh.
yeah.
Shout out to Bolsh. Bolsh took him at number 20 overall, and hearing from Bolsh, who eventually will be running the Word on Wall Street segment, we'll get him introduced to all the loyal listeners here. He took him at number 20 overall. He told me that in all the mock drafts that he did, it wasn't 176 like I did. Julio Rodriguez did not fall to number 20 in any draft, so he had to scoop him up. Predominantly in a well-known, very, very cold starter. This year is no different than it's been in the past. Sean, Julio Rodriguez, I know when I drafted him last year in the second round around pick 30, you hated the pick. Do you care to chime in on this?
Well, I've been consistent when it comes to Julio Rodriguez. I really have no interest in having him on my team, and I've always said it's that loop in his swing where he really relies on a lot of timing. He times it up, and I was watching him today. He struck out against Cam Schlittler on I think a 97 mile an hour heater, and he wasn't even close. So I just never really liked his swing. He's playing out on the West Coast, so he's kind of hidden out there for us. But yeah, I think
He did
he's going
what,
to be.
Sean. He had one of the better under the radar seasons last year.
He did.
I flipped him mid-season. He ended up hitting 32 bombs, scored 106 runs, 95 RBIs, 30 stolen bases. I mean, the counting stats were there at the end of the day, but I can't tell you when he turned it around because it was the quietest compilation of stats that you would ever want to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly marked as one of the premier players in the sport. You always hear his name kind of being chatted about at the top of the list. But again, I just go back to that the swing mechanics, and I'm not just not a fan of it. And so the slow start, not that surprised. But like you said, a lot of these hitters will heat up as the sun comes out, and he's no different there. The next guy on our list is you're the Atlanta Braves guy. I know you love all of them, but Austin Riley has made it on the cold start list here. 4 for 18, 222 batting average, 522 OPS. Are you worried here?
No, I don't think so. I mean, quite frankly, we could have included two other Braves on this list as well, and Ronald Acuna and Matt Olson, both guys of which I own and spent two for a first and second round pick on. He's 4 for 18. OPS is 522. Obviously, that not good. Batting 222 right now. They need him to hit, but like I said before, the only guy that's really hitting up there is Drake Baldwin at this time. So, I think guys like Riley are streaky hitters. I think when Olson and Acuna start to turn it up, I think Riley will obviously be a beneficiary of that as well. He's not hitting a lot with runners in scoring position. I think the track record, after a down year last year, I think the track record's still there for him. I think he's still a top five option at third base at this point in his career. But hey, I mean, we need to start seeing some power output out of those three guys down in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean he plays a really nice third base. He's a joy to watch in the field. So in our league, you won't lose a ton with the errors. But he hasn't been striking out a lot this year, and in years past, that's been a problem for him. So he might be a buy low candidate out there. And speaking of buy low, here's one I would definitely be knocking on the door for: Wyatt Langford, the former Florida Gator. He's 4 for 24, 167 batting average, 417 OPS. But man, everyone out there in the fantasy baseball world was telling you to draft Wyatt Langford. He's going to break out. This is going to be a big year for Langford. Obviously, not off to the start he wanted, but I would not be worried at all. I would be trying to buy low on Wyatt Langford. Do you agree with that logic?
Not wholeheartedly. I think it's okay to be a little bit concerned. Now, listen, no home runs, no stolen bases. We're at a disadvantage right now. Obviously, we're doing this on a weekly cadence here, to talking through some of these cold starts. We could revisit this list next week, and four of these guys could be off the cold start list just because of the sample size. All it takes is one or two good games, and these guys could completely fade from this list. White Langford, yeah, a lot of 30-30 talk coming into the season. So I even heard 35-35 or 40-40 in some circles. I never really bought into the upper echelon of the 40-40 conversation. I think 30-30 is fair. He hasn't stolen 30 bags in the league yet. Um, but again, that lineup down in Texas isn't strong. They need him to hit the ball in order to win games. Um, I think it's fair to panic a little bit. Obviously, your appetite for holding on to guys who are struggling is a little bit better than mine. Uh, but I drafted him last year. I was okay. He was just he was an unexciting player for me. Let's put it that way. He just didn't he didn't do anything extraordinarily well, I would say. And so far, kind of more of the same right now. We obviously don't expect the batting average to stay at 167. He's going to, at the end of the day, he's going to be a 260, 270 guy probably. OPS is going to be above league average, I would say, so maybe paying him around 800 to 820. And if he does that, he hits 25 home runs, steals 30 bases, I think you'd say it's a good year for the price you paid. So I think he falls obviously outside of the upper echelon of outfielders that you paid a high price for. But if you're taking him in the outfielder maybe 15 to 18 range, I don't think you panic all that much. If you spent more than that, maybe we need to go back to some draft logic at that point.
The last guy on our list for cold start hitters here, I imagine you don't have much positive to say here for Bryce Harper. You want to take this?
No, I think he stinks.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the player. Never really have been, to be honest with you. I think that he was always a little bit overhyped. Um, you know, and former MVP. I get it. A lot of guys in the Phillies lineup struggling right now. Trey Turner being one of them. Again, I own him, so I'm having some power outages over at the Horse Doctor Stables. I've never been a fan of Bryce Harper. I alluded to this on a prior episode. I had the option to draft him in all 176 drafts that I did at pick 34, and I passed on him every single time. Just don't like the player, don't like his game anymore. He's getting older. The Phillies, I mean, they got booed the first 4 games of the season. When's the last time you think that happened?
Well, they're historically the town that booed Santa Claus. Um,
Yeah. They don't
so
have much of an appetite for guys starting off 2 for 20. I'll say it that way. So I could see tensions getting stirred up there if that continues for all that much longer.
yeah. Well, I appreciate your thoughts there, Zom, on the cold starts. So that'll be a wrap for that. Next, we are going to take a look at the top waiver wire pickups. This is where you can really make up ground in your league, especially in the daily leagues where you got to set that lineup every day. You should be looking at night and in the morning on who performed the day before and who is ready to be added to your roster. And these are some folks that have 40% ownership or less. So Zom and I are in a 20 team league. So we're consistently looking for guys that have 10% ownership, 15% ownership, 5% ownership. But typically in most leagues, whether 8, 10, 12 teams, we kind of make the cutoff at 40. That we want to see these guys owned more. And starting with the hitters here, a couple that I wanted to highlight. First, starting with Samuel Basallo. He little bit of a cold start, but he's a big time prospect in Baltimore. Just today, he hit a 437-foot home run. Great power. He's able to catch, able to DH. Would like to see that ownership increase for Samuel Basallo. Are you a fan of his?
Oh yeah, and we highlighted him on a previous show as well. It's not only the home run. He had 3 hits today over 104 miles per hour. He hits the ball hard. I think they've been, obviously with the addition of Pete Alonso, that was huge for the Orioles as well. But they need a guy like this to come in and hit the ball. So yeah, I'm very high on him. I know Bo likes him a lot as well. Shout out to the commish. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about there. Sweet swing, really, really sweet swing.
Absolutely. Um, so we're Pirate fans. Connor Griffin here. It sounds like the team and KG, as I like to call them, are getting close on a. For us, it's a mega deal. Anytime we're signing a position player to a long term contract, it really gets us excited. It sounded like it's going to be 8 years, north of 100 million. The Griffin camp is trying to use the Roman Anthony contract as a benchmark, which was 8 for 130. So a little bit of middle ground to come in the middle. But man, once he gets signed to that big deal, which I anticipate it'll happen, the call ups around the corner. He's got a 1.281 OPS in AAA. Hasn't gone deep yet, but no big deal. We saw plenty of that in spring training. He's walking. We mentioned last year in the minor leagues, he stole 65 bases. He's got 2 already this year. How excited are you for Connor Griffin?
I haven't been this excited for a prospect since Paul Skeens, and I know that that's funny to say, but like before that, those 2 guys just separate themselves from any other prospect that was coming up for the Pirates. Maybe Garrett Cole, but not even that. I'm looking for a guy who can play 6 games a week. It's tough to get excited for a guy who's going out there and pitching 1 out of every 5 days. I'm very excited about him. I think I think the hype is real. He has 3 doubles down there in AAA already. I know he got thrown out at third trying to stretch a double into a triple. That's fine. I hope that he comes up with that aggressiveness. I hope they give him the green light. I hope they don't mess with him too much. I think you just let a guy like that be what he is. Stick to what got him here. And we need him. I'm going to pose a question to you at the end when we talked about our Bucco runaround about what you think this lineup looks like when it's fully optimized with Connor Griffin in the lineup, what you would do. So, yeah, as a Pirates fan, thrilled, excited about it. I'd say within the next 2 weeks, he's probably up here in the big league roster.
Yeah, I think it's around the corner. And then just to spotlight these last couple names, Matt McLean, someone that I've been bullish on for years, ever since I drafted him back in, I think it was 2023. Then he tore his labrum. So yeah, McLean, he had that fantastic spring training, where he was I believe he led spring training in home runs. Was hitting the cover off the ball. Um, hasn't necessarily translated here in 2026. 729 OPS, but he does have 5 walks. But I'm still very high on him. I think he's a legit option, and I would own Matt McLean if he is still available. And then Carson Bend, we mentioned, hit the home run off of the Pirates in that opening series. He's still out there, as well as Joey Weimer, a relatively unknown name. Before this season, I've never heard of him, but he's got a 1.937 OPS. What do you think about him? Is he on your radar?
I mean, he was picked up in our league. I was waiting for somebody to pounce on him. I don't know. I mean, I think guys show you who they are. I think you always have a handful of players at the outset of each season who have a great 1 or 2 weeks. And if you're, in a 20-team league, sure, go after them. There's not a whole heck of a lot out there. But I'd say if you're in a 12-team league, you're probably going to have better options. That's why I think it's a relative conversation here. Everybody that we're listing here is obviously rostered in our league. They typically are rostered in our league even before they really heat up. It's amazing. But these are listed guys that, if you're in a 15-team league, they, may or may not be available. 12-team league, I'd say they're probably all available, maybe outside of Connor Griffin, just because there's better options that exist out there. I mean, Joey Weimer right now. I mean, is he? They said he was going to platoon with my boy Dalen Lyle. Dalen Lyle's, hitting the ball, big contact guy with the Nationals. Not stealing a lot of bases right now, but they're not platooning right now. So I'd say while the bat's hot, you keep him in. I don't know if he's holding up a spot. He obviously made the team over Dylan Cruz, so they think more of him than Dylan Cruz at this very moment. I don't know. I'm with you. I've never heard of the guy coming into
Yeah.
the show, which is probably not a great thing to admit on a fantasy baseball podcast, but
Well, we're honest, and we
yeah,
that's why we keep the faith, and our
we
faith is
we
good.
I think if you're not operating in good faith, what's the point of even operating?
There's no point. You gotta keep the faith,
Yeah.
in the integrity. Uh, let's take a quick look at the pitchers. All coming on your screen here. All these lads are less than 40% owned. We talked about Scherzer earlier. He's less than 40% owned. Mitch Keller on the Buccos, less than 40% owned. But a few names that stick out that maybe you might not be familiar with: Emerson Hancock, 1 start, 1-0, 6 inning pitch, 0 earned, .17 whip, 9 strikeouts. He was on my radar last year, and he's off to a nice start. And then Ryan Nelson, kind of similar to Matt McLean. I'm bullish on him. I expect him to have a long and fruitful season for the Diamondbacks. And then just two to spotlight: one former Bucco, one active Bucco, Mike Burrows and Braxton Ashcraft. Burrows down in Houston, Ashcraft obviously with the Pirates. I would jump on both of those guys. Zum, anything to add?
I was watching Emerson Hancock on Sunday Night Baseball, and I'll tell you what, I do not like Sunday Night Baseball and Peacock. I think they got bounced from ESPN, which I think Sunday Night Baseball was one of the only good things that ESPN ever did. So I think they got bounced for like table tennis or like WNBA or something stupid. I thought he was electric. But the thing with him is, we know the five guys up there in the rotation. He's kind of that swing man. He's stepping in for Bryce Miller right now, who's out with the oblique. So like, yeah, he's going to go down, another maybe 2, 3 starts. what happens? Do they go to a six? Do they try to preserve some of their arms? I don't know. But he looked, he was spotting his pitches. His pitch count got up there. Obviously, with 9 Ks, it's going to. He gave up one hit, I believe, in those 6 innings. You know, he was somebody last year who was kind of on the wire, off the wire, on the wire, off the wire, on the wire, off the wire. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit more of the same this year. Obviously, a great first start. I think Mitch Keller also had a great first start, shut down the Mets for 6 innings. Point 0.5 ERA there, struck out three. I just think he's a steadying force in that lineup. I think everybody talks about Skeens and Ashcraft, and and I think that's fair. But I think Mitch Keller's kind of the guy that doesn't get talked about as much, and he's kind of been the person who's given you all those innings. He's typically high threes, low four ERAs, which is fine. Right now, he's their number two guy. I can't sit here and say at the end of the season he'll be their number two guy, but if you go 4 or 5 deep and he's your three or four, even five potentially, I think it's a really really good problem to have. We've highlighted Max Scherzer, so enough to talk about there. And then, no, I'll just talk about Braxton Ashcraft really quick. I thought he looked really good. He got a kind of a hard luck loss in his first start against the Reds. His WHIP is 1.33. Again, one start, 1.33 is no big deal. 3 Ks, throws the ball hard. Bucco's counting on him to have a big year this year. So, yeah, I think the list that you compiled is fantastic. Again, Emerson Hancock, Andrew Painter, Mitch Keller, Noah Cameron, Max Scherzer, Ryan Nelson, Mike Burrows, Braxton Ashcraft, Matthew Liberatore, Brandon Pfaadt, and Taj Bradley to round it out.
That's right. I appreciate it, Sam. And then moving along, the first few episodes, we definitely wanted to set the viewer up to prepare for the season, right? We've said it numerous times. This kind of research we're doing and the effort we're putting in to fantasy baseball, with or without this podcast, we'd be doing it. So now that here we are, we definitely want to carve out a little piece of the pie for our hometown Buccos, because we know, the folks that are viewing out there, a lot of them here locally in Pittsburgh, and we love our Pirates. And we know this city loves the Pirates, and really just thirsting for a winner. Had a great win today against the Reds, 8-3. Paul Skeens got the win. O'Neal Cruz 3-run dinger. But Zom, really want to take a 30,000-foot view here. Now through 2 series, the Mets and the Reds. Now they'll have a day off tomorrow, and then the home opener on Friday against the Baltimore Orioles. Obviously, a lot of directions we can go when talking about our favorite ball club, that is the Pittsburgh Pirates. Where would you like to start? What is pressing on your mind with the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Well, being the eternal optimist that I am, I'm going to start with the two biggest disappointments that I think have kind of shown themselves really early on, and those two names are Spencer Horwitz and Marcell Ozuna. Now, I'll be honest with you, Marcell Ozuna was one that was sitting out there for a while, and so far it looks like for pretty good reason. He looks overmatched. He's swinging at bad pitches. He drove some balls today. They're not falling in right now. As of right now, I'm wrong about Marcell Ozuna. Obviously, the two other guys that came in, Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn, have kind of been the complete opposite. They have been godsends to this lineup right now. Spencer Horwitz, again, I don't know, Sean. I don't know really what they see in him either. I think that when you start talking about the optimal lineup for your Buccos, I can't envision a scenario where the story ends in an advantageous way for the Buccos with O'Neal Cruz starring in center field. So I think about this as, okay, let's assume that O'Neal Cruz is not in center field, and I think you and I both agree, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we both like Jank Mangum a lot, right?
That's absolutely
So
right.
I think when you envision what this lineup optimally should look like, if it were me, I think you have Jake Mangum in center field, you have Brian Reynolds in left, you keep Ryan O'Hearn in right. And what's the drawback to testing O'Neal Cruz at one of the corner infield positions, first base, third base? Do you see any drawbacks right now? I mean, he's athletic enough. Why not? You're at third base. You're not really thinking as much as you are at shortstop. He's obviously got a he's a five-tool arm guy at least from that standpoint. He can, there's not much thinking, and I think you and I have talked. He doesn't look like he's ever really thinking when he's playing baseball, which I guess some could view that as a good thing. But he just looks like he's lost out there in the outfield. Do you think if we're trying to really optimize this lineup, do we think looking at the hole that we have at third base would be a good thing for the Pirates?
I, I don't see him as a third baseman, but I've been on record for it's now been about 2 years since it's clear that he's a problem in the field. I thought he should be a first baseman. Um, a lot of people, oh, let's you don't want to waste his arm. Well, like screw the arm. If you can't make routine plays routinely, to steal a Mike Tomlin phrase, you're not a pro. And you can just tell that he's like just winging it out there and kind of learning on the fly, which isn't necessarily his fault. Kind of the position he was put into, but it goes back to when we first got him. We got him from the Dodgers in a trade, and back then they should have got wise and not started him as a shortstop. And now all these years later, we're kind of racking our brains to see where he fits. If it were me, I would play him at first base, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think we're going to see him in center field all year long, and it's going to just be part of the experience.
Yeah, I don't know. If I'm Paul Skeens and I'm going out there, I'm saying I'm not starting if O'Neill Cruz is in center field. I think it's like you said. You watch some of the stuff that happens out there, and like as a 6-year old, I'm teaching my son right now. He's obviously not even six. He's 4.5. But when you're playing in the field, and my dad taught me this, and you're playing in the outfield, the first step is always back. Even people who haven't played the outfield know that the first step is always back. And that error that he made on opening day where he ran 5 feet in and then he couldn't recover in time, I just think that's inexcusable. I think that's more inexcusable than the sun in the eyes. I mean, we could talk about the sunglasses thing all we want, but like, I think the fundamentals and just the lack, it seems to me just a lack of overall intelligence, both baseball IQ and just normal day-to-day operating IQ. They just seem very low. He's been in America for however many years now, and he still doesn't know a lick of English. Is he making an effort? He looks like he's disinterested. It's the body language. It's everything. We can highlight how much of a fan I'm not of O'Neill Cruz, but if he's hitting home runs, I guess I can get on board with him.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely need that bat. And the other bat we absolutely need is Brian Reynolds. They both hit home runs today against the Reds. When Reynolds is going, the team is at its best. He's a switch hitter, um, definitely a leader in that locker room. But yeah, kind of to finish on Cruz, um, I do feel bad. It was now what 4 years ago. The broken ankle at home plate against the Cubs. Um, that was the moment when that was the season where he was really picking up, and it's like, all right, we're really excited about O'Neill Cruz, and then he practically misses the whole season. And then when you come back from a big injury like that, they kind of give you a pass. And so then last year we were expecting big things, and I just will never forget that play in Houston of all teams. They're in Houston. He's playing shortstop, a fly ball over top of third base, and it should have been Reynolds' ball in left field, and he just goes crashing into him. And then I think they went on a 7-game skid, and then that's when Shelton gets fired, and in comes Don Kelly from Mount Lebo. They both those names are pivotal to the success of the Pirates. I expect both of them. I think both of them will hit north of 25 home runs. I predicted 39 for Cruz, but it's just unfortunate. You got to deal with the headaches out in the field. And we've had good center fielders in this franchise in the recent past. McCutcheon, Marte, even go back Nate McCloth. Um, you know, Cruz, he is bad in the outfield. I just really hope it doesn't lose us a ton of games, but it's something you got to think of.
Well, I mean, again, there was all this chatter this offseason about, hey, O'Neill Cruz, he's been training with, four-time Gold Glove winner Kevin Kiermaier, whatever his name is. Uh, Okay, like that's great.
He didn't teach
Uh,
him to. Did he teach him to run in on a fly ball, or
I
like
mean,
you said?
it's like I said. I think that's one of the first things that you learn when you're talking fundamentals of baseball. And again, like I've always said this. I'm always under the impression that you're in the major leagues. You're here for a reason. You don't kind of come up through the ranks not knowing how to play baseball or not knowing the fundamentals of baseball. So again, I don't know if it's a focus thing. I could definitely argue that it seems like it is a focus thing because he kind of looks like he's in his own little world when he's out there. But again, I think you're always going to have a mixed bag with him. Hopefully, the highs outweigh the lows. But again, this is the most length that we've had on a lineup in years now. You need Marcell Ozuna. Obviously dealt with injuries last year. Hopefully, he was coming here this year, kind of with that stuff behind him. He has not even really sniffed the ball all that much yet this year. But if you plug him into the four hole, you need him to be a four hole hitter, and he just so far has
Yeah.
been terrible. So I don't know.
But enough with the pessimistic outlook. Let's focus on some good stuff on the offense, and I think you got to talk about the two new additions, Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn, both hitting the ball over the fence, both left-handed power strokes, but they actually both got the day off today against the Reds. It didn't hurt us with the 8-3 victory, but um, we've asked to add to the payroll in the forms of hitters, and that happened with Lau, O'Hearn, and Ozuna. You mentioned Ozuna. I'm not worried about him. To me he looks healthy. He's like he's fit and in shape. I think he is excited about the role he's taken with O'Neal Cruz. So let's hope that pays off. But I'm thrilled with the start we've seen from Lau and O'Hearn. Care to add any color there, Zone?
No, I don't. I mean, I think O'Hearn's obviously the more consistent of the two, but they're absolutely both steadying forces in that lineup, the likes of which we haven't, like I said, we haven't seen in a few years now. Um, no, I hate throwing out the word like professional hitter, but like Ryan O'Hearn just strikes me as a professional hitter. He does all the little things right, and that's cliche to say as well, but like so far, everything you see from him is very encouraging, and you hope that that level of professionalism can just rub off on some of these other guys. Um, Brandon Lau, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's a bopper, man. He's maybe this year he'll be the big dumper. I, I'm excited about what the possibilities are for this offense if and when you get O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds in the swing of things on a more consistent basis. We can't have stretches of 10 or 15 games where they're just not themselves. Can't have that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm still a fan of Nick Gonzalez. I think he's a fantastic option to come off the bench because the guy we haven't mentioned in a little while, Connor Griffin, he's going to be here soon. He's going to be, I think he's going to be the everyday shortstop. You're going to move Triolo to third. You appreciate the glove there. He's not going to do much at the dish, but that's all right because you can spot start Gonzalez. You can spot start York. Um, we already mentioned Jake Mangum, so now you're talking about depth, and then if you can get to the All Star break where you're in it, you got to think they're going to add to the lineup, especially while you got Paul Skeens on the cheap. So let's stay locked in, Bucco Nation. We're going to be in this for the long haul. But let's before we get off the Pirates, you got to mention the pitching staff. Zum, what are your thoughts? First trip through the rotation, we've seen all five starters: Ashcraft, Keller, Skeens, Mladzinski, and Chandler. I'm excited about this staff. It's going to gain Jared Jones here in the next month or so. They can definitely win us games with pitching.
yeah, I think the only guy that we haven't really talked about is Carmen Mladzinski.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I thought it was a fantastic first start. I think he's the wild card ultimately. I mean, that fifth starter spot was always kind of up in the air over the offseason. I'm glad that he got. I know a lot of people were clamoring for Hunter Barco to get that fifth spot, who has looked very very shaky in some higher leverage spots that he's been put in early on. I understand being a starter your entire life and then coming in for situations that you're not necessarily used to. I imagine at some point in his come up, he was probably pitching out of the bullpen at some point. But I saw something today that I think is very intriguing that said basically something along the lines of the only thing that is holding back Seth Hernandez as the top rotation arm for the Pirates is Paul Skeens. I think that is an incredible. Um, it's something to look forward to on the horizon, something that we're not even really talking about here. I think, being a Pirates fan, unfortunately, you have to live in the reality that, Paul Skeens probably isn't going to be here for all that much longer. Hopefully, there's not a lockout next year, but, we have a way of building a pipeline of high upside arms in this organization. So, Pirates fans, again, I think you gotta have to hold the line here, hold the faith that we're going to get it done while Paul Skeens is here. But we absolutely have people waiting in the wings to move through the ranks as well. So I mean, that's again a very generalized overview of how I kind of view the rotation right now. I think that's obviously their strength. I think it's going to continue to be their strength, even if the lineup heats up. I think that the pitching staff was always going to be the strength of this team, and who knows? Maybe at the same time, the hitting will come around, the fielding might get better. Man, if they can put all three phases of the game together, I think it's going to be a fun bunch to watch.
Absolutely. So we will be locked in all year long on Bucco action. I plan on making tons of games this year down to PNC Park. I never take it for granted. This is the beauty of that ballpark. So I'm looking forward to a long and successful Pirate season. So as we land this plane on episode 3, we wanted to end with a little bit of fun, some trivia here. I have a question for Zum. Zum has a question for me, and then we will part ways. Zum, I'll go first. And here we go. Let's jump right into it. Since 2022, this hitter leads Major League Baseball in strikeouts with 818. I'll allow you a guess. If you don't have a guess, we can then go to multiple choice to make this fun.
So we're saying that's 4 years. I assume we're not include. I mean, we might be including this year, but that's not all that much.
It won't. Yeah, you can essentially factor this year out.
So we're talking over 200 strikeouts a year on average. There's at least, oh man, there's at least three guys, more so two guys that really come to mind. And I think through 2024, I knew this answer because I was intrigued with how often he was striking out. But the three names that I kind of had in my mind were Eugenio Suarez. I had Matt Olson on my mind, and I also had Kyle Schwarber on my mind. And I know Kyle Schwarber led through 2024. I'm just trying to think back to last year. I think it was more of the same. I mean, the counting stats were incredible, but I think when I looked at the stat line this year,
let me jump in, Zone. Let me jump in. And you're really warm here. Let's give you the multiple choice. Let's give you the multiple choice. A, Giancarlo Stanton. B, Eugenio Suarez. C, Pete Alonso. Or D, Kyle Schwarber.
Oh, so Matt Olson's not even an option there. So I would have to go. I mean, I would obviously be between Suarez and Schwarber, but my gut has been telling me from the beginning. I knew it was Schwarber through 2024. I know he struck out a bunch last year. I would have to go with option D, Kyle Schwarber, lock it in.
You are correct. Zums. That is a great answer. Go. He had it the whole way. He really worked his way from point A to point B and got that answer right. Now let's see, what do you have prepared for me?
Do you think Harry Callis would have got that question right?
Absolutely not.
Do you think Greg Matthews would have got that question right?
I think Greg knows ball, to be honest. Yeah, I think he would have been able to, if we would have gave him a multiple choice, yeah, he would have got it.
He doesn't know ball. All right, moving on. So, question for Harv. So, this is the only team in Major League Baseball to never make a World Series appearance. I'll let you let it stew for a second, but I will give you the multiple choice options with a 50-50 option if you choose to utilize it.
Okay, then. Can you repeat the question?
This team is the only team in Major League Baseball who has never made a World Series appearance.
Stand by. The first team that came to mind was the Brewers, but I believe like back with like Robin Yount and Paul Molitor, I believe yeah, I feel like they would have made a World Series. Can we rule them out, Zone?
A. Minnesota Twins. B. Seattle Mariners. C. Cincinnati Reds. D. Kansas City Royals.
One more time.
A. The Minnesota Twins. B. The Seattle Mariners. C. The Cincinnati Reds. D. Kansas City Royals.
It's B, Seattle Mariners.
It is the Seattle Mariners. They are the only team in Major League Baseball to never make a World Series appearance. Kudos to you, Sean. You are a historian and a gentleman.
Yeah, and I remember I can remember like it's yesterday back in
It's amazing.
the Sports Center era when I would watch Sports Center every morning. I'm talking about like the years 1999, 2000,
Yep.
2001,
Oh yeah.
2002,
Oh yeah.
and the Mariners won, I believe, 115 games with Brent Boone,
That's
and
right.
they got bounced in the first round. So the Seattle Mariners never a World Series appearance. Not
I used
shocked.
to I used to play Ken Griffey Jr. baseball on Nintendo 64 back in the day for all you millennials, and obviously I would always play with the Mariners. So that was the cheat code: left, 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 right, 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 up,
Jay
up, down, down,
Buhner.
down. Yeah. So if you just had to make contact with the ball and that ball was going 500 feet, maybe sometimes out of the ballpark. That game bring me back to my childhood. I am stunned that they never made it either. They have had some fantastic teams. Again, they've set a major league record for wins in a season. Couldn't get it done that year. I thought I was going to trip you up on that, to be honest with you. But I think some of the options that I gave, kind of as I looked through the list of teams, there's so many obvious ones and recent ones that I knew I couldn't throw in there. And like I knew you were going to get Cincinnati. I didn't know if you knew about Minnesota or not, so I was trying to throw that in there to trip you up. But yeah, Seattle Mariners is the correct answer.
Yeah, I think another good one would have been the Rays, but if you remember, they lost to the Phillies in the World Series. A lot of people forget that one. But all right, Zom, uh, great episode. We're doing better as far as being efficient on timing. We know that, well, not everyone has 3 hours to sit down and watch a fantasy baseball podcast. So, thrilled to be efficient with you here today. And any parting thoughts for our viewers as we say goodnight?
Uh, yeah. I think I go back to when I'm flying for work, and as they're kind of descending, on the approach, they always say, "Hey." Something along the lines of like, we know you have other options when it comes to flying. We thank you for flying with us today. Thank you and welcome to X, Y, and Z, wherever you're landing, or welcome home back to Pittsburgh, something along those lines. Same message for me. This kind of started out again as our pet project, not really knowing where it was going. We'd like to get eyes on it. Kind of fantasy baseball, kind of a national blend. Obviously, throwing some Bucco stuff in there as well. We're just trying to really expand our reach. We enjoy doing it, Sean. I enjoy sitting down here for 2 or 3 hours at a time, just talking ball. I know we both have a passion for baseball and everything that goes into it. I'm coaching my son's team right now, so I'm around baseball 24/7. If I'm not watching, The Office in the background, I got a baseball game on. It's just something that I really enjoy. Looking forward to the rest of the season to see what it brings. Again, we hope that we were at least mildly entertaining for the folks watching here. And as always, I think we have to say it. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't. God bless the troops.
God bless the troops. We'll talk to you later, everyone.